Recently, I've been receiving a lot of requests from investors about their interest in investing in certain locations for shortlets. Now, after a series of consultation, I realized that it would also be ideal for me to do a video on how to invest in shortlet apartments here in Lagos. I'm very aware that a lot of us here like or love to join the bandwagon. It's Ibejuleki that is selling now, everybody buys Ibejuleki. Shortlet is the new gold, everybody is going into shortlet. But before you join the bandwagon and also start putting your money in shortlet apartments, I'll be doing a comprehensive video on the different secrets, risks, and different steps you need to take when you want to invest in shortlet apartments here in Lagos. Either you are looking at the island or you are looking at the mainland. Now, if you are coming across a video like this for the first time, please meet the Property Guy Property channel, and this is where we discuss everything real estate. Either you want to buy, invest, or sell a property here in Nigeria. After watching this particular guide, if this is your first time, I would advise you also go to our previous guides and previous videos and episodes. We have covered a lot of topics and you are going to learn a lot. And if you have been learning already from our videos and you haven't subscribed yet, this is also another fantastic opportunity for you to do that. So now let's go into the topic and let's look at it, how to invest in shortlet apartments here in Lagos. If you want to invest in shortlet apartments here in Lagos, the first step is picking or choosing a location. Now, the sources of failure of your shortlet investments rest on this. So that's why it's very key that you take picking or choosing a location very, very serious. Now, the rule here is simple. You are not choosing a location you like. You are choosing a location based on demand. Now, again, a very, very important thing when you are picking a location for shortlet is you need to look at your capital, because it's your capital that will determine where you will be buying or where you'll be investing for shortlets. If you are looking around Ikoyi, Victoria Island, Lekki Phase 1 for service apartment for shortlets, then your budget or your capital should be around 100 million. That's just it. If you have below 100 million, then don't look at Ikoyi, don't look at VI. Now, it's not just only the island you also need to be looking at for shortlets. There are also some very good locations on the mainland also that is attractive for shortlets also. Ikeja GRA is one of them, and there are also some specific locations around Ikeja, very close to the airport also, that can sell for shortlets. Surulere is also another place that is also attractive or very, very attractive for shortlet also. Now, on the island also, you also need to understand that there are some places where there is already existing demand for shortlets, and there are also places where we have emerging demand. The demand there is not much yet, but in a couple of months and years now, the demand for shortlets in those locations are also going to catch up. So that's why you need to, while you are picking the location, you need to look at your capital, and you also need to do your market analysis of that location that you are picking based on the shortlet market in that location. How much is shortlet there currently per night? What is the demand like? What's the occupancy rate? Is it 30%? Is it 50%? What we mean by the occupancy rate is how likely will your apartment be occupied in a month. 9 days, that's like 30%. 15 days, that's like 50%. So you need to do all this market analysis when you are picking a location, so that you can start looking at your return on investment and look at how much you are going to be making based on the location that you are picking. The next step is to check the demand or check the market. Now, I have explained this briefly in the first point. After you have picked a location where you want to invest in shortlets, you've done your search, you have your capital, you've done your search, you found a property in that location already, a service apartment in that location already, you need to start looking at the market analysis. How is the shortlet market in this location? How is it selling? What is the charge like? What's the occupancy rate like? Is it likely to change in the next 12 months? Is the demand likely to increase in the next 12 months? Is the demand likely to increase in the 24 months, in the next 24 months, which is like next 2 years? And what is the competition like? Now, for Ikoyi, VI, and Lekki Phase 1, the competition for shortlets is getting more and more like increasing, more and more crazy, because more service apartments are being in development, more service apartments are being bought almost daily, and more service apartments are being put into the market for shortlet. But if you look at locations like Orchid, Chevron, and the demand there is not that very high as Victoria Island yet, but the competition is lesser. Now, if you want to position yourself for the next place where this shortlet market is coming, then you can now start looking at around Aja, service apartments around Aja and Songotedo. The market or the demand there is not that high yet, it's not even average yet, but in a couple of months, based on the service apartment development that is ongoing in these locations, the demand for shortlet in these locations are also going to rise. So you can either position yourself for where the market is coming, or key yourself into a place where the market is already existing. So that's why you need to do your market analysis and check the demand in each of these locations that you are picking. It's enough for you to buy a service apartment, maybe it's a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom flat, comes with a BQ or doesn't come with a BQ. You also need to start also analyzing your setup costs. Now, I've been repeating this in this video. Service apartments, some of us don't understand what we mean by service apartments, so let me just simply explain what we mean by service apartments. Now, service apartments are usually block of flats in a mini estate where every amenities and utilities are centralized. Now, what we mean by amenities and utilities are things like the water. The water is going to be centralized, so we are going to have a central water plant that will be treating the water and providing 24/7 water for all the apartments. Then you're also going to have a refuse dispose management where they're going to manage the waste management, the refuse management of each apartment, either weekly or daily, or how they arrange it. Then for service apartments, most are also going to come with 24/7 electricity, so that means they're going to be providing a central generator or central power backup to service all the apartments. So because all these utilities or amenities are centralized, it means that you don't even need to bother yourself. There will always be water, there will always be light, and your refuse will always be managed by the service or the facility company that owns the apartment. So it's not just about buying the service apartment. If you want to do shortlets and want to make money, you need to go into service apartment, because most of these amenities you shouldn't be the one doing it yourself. So you need to also integrate the setup costs into your plan, into your analysis. The setup cost is after you have bought the apartment, is in a service estate. You also need to start planning for how you are going to discharge for an interior decor, because at least you need to furnish the apartment, you know, the lights, the furnitures, the beds, the interior decoration, the different paintings, you understand, and the different features you want to have in the house. You know, maybe you want to provide a cinema room, you want to provide a smart TV integrated with Netflix. Also, we want to provide 24/7 electricity, 24/7 Wi-Fi supply inside the home also, and these different extra features that you want to provide for people that will be taking up your apartment for shortlet. You also need to integrate this setup cost. So if the apartment is 80 million or 70 million that you want to buy, depending on the location you want to buy it, you also need to also look at the setup cost, how much it's going to cost you for a 24/7 Wi-Fi, how much it's going to cost you for the smart TVs you want to put in the rooms, how much it's going to cost you for the different furnitures, the different paintings, different decor that you want to put in the house, the beds and every other sanitaries that you also want to provide in the house. You also need to integrate this setup cost. It's going to cost you another maybe extra 20 or 25 million. You need to add that to your original cost of buying the apartment, so that you know the exact capital you are putting into this investment. So the setting up cost is also very, very, very integral, and it's something that you need to look into when you also want to invest in shortlet apartments. The next thing you need to consider when you are investing in shortlet apartment is the running expenses. Now, like I explained earlier, most shortlet apartments here in Lagos, that is on the island or on the mainland, are usually going to be fully serviced, which means that all these amenities are centralized. You will be paying for these amenities. Usually, there is always a monthly charge for these amenities, and sometimes they do it per annum. Now, apart from electricity, which is likely going to be a prepaid, which is pay as you go, all other amenities you are always going to pay for it, either your apartment is occupied or not. It's very, very important. So the water, the refuse disposal, the electricity, you are always going to be paying that. Either that month you have an occupant or you don't have an occupant at all, you are always going to pay it. So you need to integrate all these running expenses into your investment plan also. The electricity now in Lagos is getting more and more expensive. That's just the truth. So you also need to integrate how much is the likely estimate you are going to be spending monthly on electricity, how much likely you are going to be spending on these monthly charges, and your apartment will likely be managed. That means you'll be having maybe a Shortlet manager to manage the apartment for you, you know, cleaning and all those, the advertisement, the marketing of that or the apartment for you so that you can get occupants. You are also going to be paying these managers. Likely it's going to be based on a percentage. That okay, when for every single occupant you are paying them maybe 10%, 15% or 20% of the daily charge, depending. You also need to integrate all these into the expenses too, so that at the end of the day you can easily do your maths based on what you spend and look at the first month, the second month, the third month, the first year, the second year, the third year. Look at how much you made, subtract your running expenses from it, and you can easily deduce the profit. You can even do all these maths before you go into buying the apartment at all. Look at the location. The location is going to cost me 80 million or 70 million to buy an apartment. It's going to cost me around like maybe 20 million, 25 million for the setup cost, which is to do the furnitures, provided in the interior decors and everything. Then the monthly service charge for the apartment is maybe 500k or 300k depending, and that's going to around like maybe 3 to 5 million naira per annum. You add that in your running cost. Okay, the short-term managers are going to be charging you so amount. You add that to your running cost. You're going to be spending maybe 150k, 120k, 100k for electricity per month. You add that to your running cost, so that for each time they are remitting to you, you are getting a payment. Maybe your apartment is 100k per night. You got maybe 9 days of 30% occupancy in the first month, which is like 9 days. That's 900k in the first month, 900k times 12. Look at what you have made that year. You can also easily subtract your running cost from it and look at the profit you actually landed for that year. So it's very, very important you also start to plan your running expenses with your Shortlet investment too, so that it makes sense for you. If it doesn't make sense, you don't go into it, because it's very easy to start an investment package, and especially here in Nigeria, it's also very, very easy for you to get frustrated. So if you don't want to get frustrated at the end, try to integrate all these into your plan. Look at the setup costs, look at the running expenses, look at the demand analysis, so that you don't overestimate what you are going into and you don't end up getting disappointed after you have invested. Lastly, let's look at the risk. Now, Shortlet apartments attract a lot of investors, particularly Nigerians abroad, because of the return on investment. You can make 3 times, 4 times, 5 times what you are supposed to make on rent from Shortlet. So a lot of people are already joining the bandwagon that's the new gold, and are already investing. But it also comes with its risk also. Now, unlike rent, where you are being paid maybe once in a year and you have a tenant in your apartment for that entire year, Shortlet is not like that. Shortlet, you are charging per night. You are charging per night on that apartment, which is also a very big advantage because you can always earn more. For what someone is paying you for a year, within 3 or 4 months, you can earn almost the same just from Shortlet. But it also comes with a risk too, because when you have a tenant in your apartment which have paid you for an annual rent, it means that for that entire year, your apartment is going to be occupied. For Shortlet, there is no guarantee. That is the truth. For a whole month, your apartment can be empty. And remember, your running expenses are still ongoing. Either your apartment is occupied or not. Depending on different other factors also, for 2-3 months consecutively, your apartment might also be empty. So you also need to integrate that into your plan also. I also need to remember that. A rent or an annual rent guarantees that a tenant will be in your house for a whole year. That guarantee is not there for shortlets, because that's why you are also charging per night also. Now, another also very, very important thing to remember is for annual rent, most times is the tenant that will be responsible for most of the utilities, the refuse disposal, the electricity, the water, the service charges. Most times it is the tenants in your apartments that will be paying it, but that's not the case for shortlets. Your occupants have no business with the service charges, because that's part of what they have paid you. So you still be the one responsible for the electricity, you still be the one responsible for paying for the water, for their refuse, and for any other utilities that they use in your apartment while they are there. So you also need to remember that too. So you need to do your plus and minus, look at the risk attached, and you can decide if going the shortlet route makes more sense to you, or you can just comfortably settle for the annual rent. Now, after these differences, after these different steps that I've outlined here, if you still need further consultation, you still need us to do more market analysis for you based on any location here in Lagos, either it's around Surulere, it's around Ikeja GRA, or it's on the island, looking at VI, Lekki, Aja, or you're looking at the emerging market for shortlets. You want to position yourself for the emerging market for shortlets, and also on Gotedo, Abijo, and even Ekpe right now. You can also reach us directly on WhatsApp. You can do the maths. We can tell you what to expect. The current market, the current trend, what's likely to change in the next 1 to 2 years about the shortlet market in that particular location. The likely capital you should be looking at to invest, the setup costs you should be looking at, the running expenses you should be looking at, and the also return on investment you should be looking at. And I can even advise you, if for now you should be doing the annual rent instead of going into a shortlet investment. So as even your property on the planet, your property advisor, your property consultant, Rabi Mustafa House, always, if you have learned a lot from this video, you find this video educative, kindly give us a thumb like and also subscribe to our channel. Thank you, and see you next time.